Hello, journeyers. I'm Tony Carnes, your host for A Journey Through NYC Religions. Today we have Gary Krupp with us, who has been working in the archives of the Vatican and has come up with some information that's going to change our understanding of what happened during World War II with Hitler, the Catholic Church, and the Allies. Welcome to the program, Gary.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for asking me.
Now, you have been hard at work in the archives and come up with various documents about the question was the Pope, the Catholic Church, silent while the Jews were sent to their deaths in Germany? And did he play a neutral role without taking sides between Hitler and the Allies? That sounds pretty important, but it also sounds sort of like an archival study.
All right, let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Okay, I have not been doing research in the archives.
No, okay.
We have been into the archives. My wife and I have been there. We've been doing research around the world. So, for example, if you go to the Diocese of Sacramento, California, and you pull up letters and newspaper articles from World War II, you come up with a certain amount of information, just like if you come up with the archives of Campania, Assisi, in different sections, and in Austria. This is where we've gotten our information from. We've gotten thousands of wartime documents, not from the archives. Let me give you a little education. The secret archives are actually now called the Apostolic Archives. And
these are secret archives of the Vatican, so-called, right?
What?
These are the so-called secret archives of the Vatican.
You gotta let me speak and I'll explain it to you. The secret archives are the archives of the popes. They're now called the Apostolic Archives, but there are almost 8 types of archives. You have the archives, the historical archives of the Secretary of State. You have archives of multiple sections in the Vatican. So we have multiple areas. That's a misnomer. It's not that. But also every single diocese throughout the world has its own archives. And many of these documents have been sent to Rome and they're stored in Rome, but a lot of them have not been, and they're there. So what we did is we actually used our position at the Vatican and then gained access to the archives in Vienna, for example. They're the archives in Campania, the archives in Assisi, and we have wartime documents, and we drew our own conclusions. We're not getting our information from so-called historians who wrote books about their theories and completely unproven stories, and basing it on that. So we started from scratch, and we decided to come up with something and taking now I'm Jewish, I'm not Catholic, and so I started out not liking Pius XII or believing the conspiracy theories and some of these other misstatement of history. And so I became convinced, based on what we discovered, that all of the information that the world, that as you have pointed out, that there's something written in stone, all of that is based on nothing. It's based on little theories pieced together that are provably wrong. And then we obtained permission to publish these documents on our website free of charge for anybody in the world to study. And we've had thousands of people come on. I have 76,000 pages of primary source documentation. We have multiple interviews from some of the most important people on this subject, proving this is wrong.
12 o'clock.
And so it was this is what we have done. Yes, we've been to the secret archives. My wife and I both have access to the secret archives, but that's not where we're getting our documentation from. It's from around the world.
Now, let me step back just a moment, just to find out about this organization that you're part of. It's called Pave the Way Foundation.
Yes.
Like PAVE?
Yes, Pave the Way Foundation. My wife and I are the founders of the organization. We started in 2002, and we work with all religions. We work with, for example, we were able to get the affirmation of the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem for the Greek Orthodox Church. We work with the Muslims, trying to disclose the covenants of protection that the Prophet Muhammad ordered his followers to protect Christians and Jews until the end of days, trying to get that published. Fortunately, that's somewhat of an obstacle, but we do other things, major cultural projects. We gave the Catholic Church the most important manuscript in all of Christianity, the Bodega Papyrus. We found a donor, and we found out this papyrus was being sold, and it's the most important manuscript in all of Christianity. It's the Gospels of St. John and St. Luke, written in 175. We brought the most important writings in Judaism, the writings of Maimonides, from the Vatican Library, where they were stored and protected, to the state of Israel for the first time in history. So we have these major projects between religions, and we deal with problems, not religion. We do not deal with how you pray and to whom you pray, but we deal with problems between religions, and we try to eliminate them on a very practical sense.
So you have multiple projects to create connections between peoples of different faiths so that they can work together in unity and hopefully harmony for the better of their, the two groups together can do more good than one alone. I think that's what you're doing.
Well, again, we don't deal with how what you feel about other members of the faith. What we do is simply get rid of the disinformation. That's simple. So if you're going to make you're going to have a problem with somebody, or you're going to use this for a reason to hate somebody, we get rid of that reason. We prove it. I'm not looking for people to join together and come together. That's not what we're doing. We're dealing with problems. We're dealing with, for example, ISIS killing Christians, beheading them, when this is in direct violation to the direct fatwa or law of Muhammad. And we have the copy of the actual document on our website that Muhammad signed forbidding this action and to protect the Christians and Jews until the end of days. This is the most important leader. So these are the things we deal with. So we say, what you're doing is wrong. You have to stop. So as I said, I'm not dealing with how well people get along with one another. I'm not with that. We're just getting rid of disinformation. And Pius XII and the actions of the church during the Second World War is disinformation and misinformation.
Well, let me ask you about that. Why that seems arguing about what happened in World War II and finding new perspective wise, and about how our view maybe have been skewed in a certain way. Why it sounds like belongs to historians, not to the public. Why is this important for all of us?
As I mentioned, that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And this is a problem. This is a big problem. And
what are we going to repeat? I mean, what
Holocaust, for example.
Yeah.
The Holocaust. Do you have any idea how many people today believe it never happened?
I don't know how many, but I know there are a few.
A lot. Go on the internet. There are people that spread that nonsense, and and people will allow it to happen. The Palestinians have been doing this for years. Have been saying, "Oh, the Holocaust never happened. It's a fabrication in order to steal land of Israel." You understand that the world is built on. You have a difference between lies and stories that are made up in order to gain an agenda. And you have the truth. All I want to do is bring the truth to it.
Now, we have one thing that you've dealt with quite a bit is that we have this story that has been around for at least 40, 50 years, that the Pope during World War II, the Vatican, in other words, the official Catholic Church, stood by and was silent about the murder of the Jews in Rome and Germany, and also took a neutral stand between the Allies and Hitler and said, we're just going to wait this out and not do anything. And this was, I guess, an understanding of a lot of people. And yet you're now saying that understanding is all wrong. How did we ever get that understanding? And
well, they understand.
What kind of impact does it have?
Hold it. Let me explain. Now, part of what you say is true. They were neutral during the war.
Yeah.
Now, why were they neutral during the war? Their neutrality enabled them to have a certain protection. For example, in Italy, they have properties from the Holy See that the Germans could not enter. And the Vatican and under the pontificate of Pius XII saved what historians who lived through the war, Pinchas Lapida, for one, who was an Israeli ambassador, said that the Vatican saved almost 847,000 Jewish lives. Do you know how much that is today? That's 25% of all the Jews in the world who are alive today because of the actions of the Vatican. There are only 16 million Jews in the world. It's 0.2% of the world's population. So the point is that what you say, they were neutral. Yes, they were neutral, but they used the neutrality to save people. And so they said they were silent. He says the fact is they weren't silent. And I'll give you all kinds of historical examples of when they spoke out, how Jews were killed, priests were killed. 1/3 of the clergy of Poland was killed in Dachau by the Nazis. Do you think anybody appreciates that fact? That the Catholic Church was a target of the Nazi regime as well. And so this is, and the fact is that they took their neutrality, but they were able to use their facility to protect the Jewish people. In Rome, for example, I'll give you a very good example. Is a woman wrote a book, Under His Very Windows, a professor from Columbia University, Susan Zuccotti, Under His Very Windows, where she accuses him of being silent when the train left for Auschwitz. And they took 1,059 Jews off to Auschwitz, of which only, I think, 19 survived.
1,050 from where?
From Rome, the Roman Jewish community, yeah. So let me tell you the facts of what happened. And the most amazing thing, had Professor Zuccotti gone into the archives of Santa Maria dell'Anima, which is the German cathedral in Rome, then she would have discovered documents which showed how it was Pius XII that ended the arrest of the Roman Jews on the day they started at 2:00 in the afternoon. We have those documents, and you'll be able to show those. They're on our website. They not only did that, and then ordered all of the Catholic facilities to do everything they can to save Jewish people. So all over Italy, they were saving Jews. The Catholics of Rome, over 400 ecclesiastical facilities in Rome was hiding Jews. You understand? So this all happened because he was silent. Now, understand a reality. The problem is, if you don't, you got to follow the course of events. We also have the signed testimony of Heinrich Himmler's deputy, General Karl Wolff, who was the Commandant of Italy. It's in Germany, and it was given in, I think, 1971, before he passed away, where he said how Adolf Hitler had ordered him to come up with a plan to invade the Vatican, kidnap the Pope, where he would be taken to Liechtenstein, and he would be assassinated. Now, anybody who's ever been in the military understood that had that happened, then there would have been rioting all over Catholic Europe. And so the German military, being smart, said you can't, they did everything to dissuade Hitler from ordering that arrest, that invasion. And so in order to do that, they had to remain silent, at least. And the fact is they weren't silent because there were multiple examples of the church speaking out, and it, as I said, Jews were killed. In fact, the Archbishop of Utrecht made a speech condemning the arrest of the Dutch Jews. And the consequences of that were that the German commander in Utrecht said, because of if the Roman Catholic Church thinks they're going to save the life of one Jew, they're sadly mistaken. Because of the remarks of this man, not only are we accelerating the arrest, but we're arresting the Jews who converted to Catholicism first. Now, I don't know if you know who Saint Edith Stein. Edith Stein and her sisters were arrested because of the speech of that Archbishop. Anybody hear of Annalisa Frank? She was killed because of the remarks of that Archbishop. The Pope knew this, and the Pope actually said, if they kill 200,000 Jews because of the speech of one Archbishop, they'll kill 2 million the speech of a Pope. So
you're saying that he faced a dilemma that if we publicly and specifically denounce Hitler and his minions, then the retaliation would be so severe that it would undercut any gain you have.
Absolutely. And the fact is, not only that, we have proof of it. Many of the, as I said, they arrested all the Catholic priests, and many of the Catholic priests in Poland, they were kept in Dachau. And every time the Vatican came out with a statement, or the Vatican radio would come out with statements, and they did, condemning the actions against Jews or anything, they would mete out punishments against the priests. So the Protestant ministers would beat up a Catholic priest and said, "What did your stupid Pope say this time?" Because things happened to them then. You had to understand something, what it was like to live in that regime.
Well, let me step back just a moment going into World War II. Now we're talking about Cardinal Pacelli,
right?
Who in 1939 became Pope Pius XII.
Correct.
Who leads the Catholic Church from then until the 50s. Now, some people might argue, say, yeah, but if you're looking back when Cardinal Pacelli, when he was a priest, Father Pacelli, and then becomes cardinal, that he probably really was a secret anti-Semite and probably was saying, Jews should be oppressed. So,
okay, stop there.
Yeah.
Stop there. I'll explain. When he was a young boy, he went to Visconti School in Rome. Came from a very aristocratic family. His best friend was an Orthodox Jew by the name of Guido Mendez.
Guido
Mendez, yes. And during the war, 1938, when Mussolini had the racial laws in 1938 in Rome, Pacelli reached out to his best friend. And understand something, he used to go to his house as a young boy to Shabbat services. He learned to speak Hebrew. He read the books of the great rabbis. And so what he did was, he reached out to him to save him. And he said, "I'm going to send you to Switzerland." And Guido Mendez said, "No, I want to go to Palestine." And he sent him to Palestine. But there are some very, very important points here of things. Like, for example, we have the documents starting in 1917 of how it was Eugenio Pacelli, Archbishop Pacelli, who is the man responsible for creating the modern state of Israel today. And he started in 1917 with Nachum Sokolov. And I have the original letters on my website, anyone can see, where Sokolov comes to visit Pacelli in Germany when he was nuncio. First, to prevent, what he did was he intervened. He asked Pacelli to intervene because of the Armenian genocide going on. The Ottoman Turks were killing Armenians, which we, by the way, have 2,500 pages of documents on that from our research, and Michael Hesseman got those from the archives. But he asked them to intercede to save the Jews of Palestine. This is the Jewish community of Switzerland asked Pacelli to do this, and he did.
Pacelli at that time was living in Rome or Germany?
No, he was in Germany.
He was in Germany.
Yes. So he intervened, and he got the German government to guarantee the safety of the Jews of Palestine, believe it or not. And they did. But he also intervened with Nachum Sokolov, the head of the World Zionist Organization, who came to him twice, 1917 and 1925, to talk about creating a Jewish homeland in Palestine. And he was very much in favor of this. And so first thing he did is he spoke to Pope Benedict XIV, Pope Benedict XV, excuse me, and where he arranged for an audience for Sokolov to meet with the Pope. Then he met with him again in 1925 and arranged for Sokolov to meet with the Cardinal Secretary of State to create a Jewish homeland in Palestine. That's not an anti-Semite. He not only did that, he interceded when Poland was trying to create anti-kosher slaughtering laws in 1938 to oppose this, and he won that. He did this. So these are actions of, he tried to get the palm fronds for Sukkot, which were being held by the Italian government. He interceded to try to do this. He had multiple things during his life.
What you're saying is that in small things and large things, he had sort of a consistent
love and respect,
Jewish perspective, and opposed anti-Semitism or anti-Semitic acts if they were small, or if they were really great big, like the founding of the Jewish state in Palestine.
We have hand-signed documents on our website you can download from Pacelli from the 1930s, where he is opposing the anti-Semitic racial laws in Italy. And he says, we're unbelievable. And then those which were condemning Hitler from the 20s, saying that this man was capable of trampling on corpses. He despised Hitler. So all of the nonsense that people are saying how he was complicit are lies and disinformation.
Now you have all these documents on your
our website. You can download them now. You can go to my website.
Pave the Way.
All right, pavethewayfoundation.org or ptwf.org. You have to go to the Pius XII page. You'll see an education. Then you have to register to get to the site that has all of this document, because you have to agree these are Vatican documents. They're the property of the Vatican state. So you have to agree you're not going to use it for commercial purposes, and you can download every one of them and their original documents and original interviews. For example, one of the greatest heroes of or historians of World War II was a Jewish British man who was the official biographer of Winston Churchill, Sir Martin Gilbert.
Right.
Very good friend of mine, passed away a number of years ago with a stroke. My interview with Sir Martin Gilbert is there, where he's saying that Pius XII should be righteous among nations at Yad Vashem.
So they can go to pavethewayfoundation.org,
right,
and agree to the proper usage of this.
No, you go to my page and you have to find this. Understand something. We do things. Pave the Way Foundation works with all of the religions and with thousands of projects. Right. You have to go to the one project on Pius XII.
So that's what you look up on your.
You go to education. You look down and talk about Pius XII. You open that, and it's going to tell you how to get to the. If you want to go that, it says on the right side, it's going to say register here, and you press that button, and there'll be a form you have to agree to, and then you will get the access code and the web address emailed back to you.
Well, now you've given some pretty good information and documents here, but what happened? Why did we get this totally different view of the Pope during World War II, that is Pope Pius XII? Why did we get this picture of him as sort of, the buddy of Hitler? Right. Where did that come from?
It came from the KGB.
KGB?
Yeah. Khrushchev despised Pius XII, and Stalin despised Pius because he was also anti-communist. Right. They despised them. So when Khrushchev was there, they financed a project called Seat 12.
Seat 12.
Seat 12. And what this was, if anybody can go online right now, and what you look at, Moscow's assault on the Vatican tells you the whole story and how they did it. And how they doctored documents, and they called him Hitler's Pope. And they took a play which was written by a German communist called the Deputy.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, they rewrote that play. They had a very prominent, Erwin Piscator, who was a very prominent German producer, rewrite the play. And they produced it and played it all over the world. It won an Emmy, an Emmy award in was it an Emmy? I think an Emmy, whatever they give for plays in New York. It won a New award. What? The Tony Award. Tony. It won a Tony Award in New York and went all over the world. Tel Aviv, in London, every place. And instantly the world changed its opinion.
Well, why didn't somebody stand up and say, well, wait a moment.
They did. Now, again, this is history repeating itself. All the people that stood up were silenced. There were rabbis. And there were fights in the streets, but the media didn't talk about that. For whatever reason, the agenda was to go after the church. They didn't talk about that. So you have no idea it even happened. But if you go down in history and you see in the newspaper, if you go to the New York Times, for example, for those dates when it was broadcast, you had rabbis that were fighting with people. This is a lie. This is terrible. And I'll tell you why. In Jewish history, one of the worst character flaws a Jew can have is ingratitude. Worst character flaw. And that was by Moses. When he was striking the Nile River, he couldn't do it because it gave him life. Ingratitude. And what has happened is that because of the lies of the KGB and the disinformation, a lot of Jews hate this man, and that is a major sin in Judaism. And that's a reason to That a reason alone is to erase these mistakes.
So you're saying in this started in 1963 or so, right?
That's correct. Yes.
That
The disinformation portion.
and
Our friend Ron Rishlack, and the highest ranking KGB agent ever to defect, wrote a book called Disinformation. And he's on our UN, by the way. We had a UN event a year ago. Ron Rishlack is on that, describing exactly what happened. And that's on our website too. You can watch it. It's a 3-hour thing with some of the top scholars in the world on Pius XII.
So this playbook of the KGB that I guess they wanted to silence the Catholic Church's voice and also set the Catholics, everybody else fighting each other, as so that they couldn't join together to fight against the communists. And that got repeated in our day with all the types of Russian disinformation playbook and stuff like that.
They're the best at it. The Russians are the best. They're chess players, and they are the best at it. Look up Yuri Mendenov. Google him. Yuri Mendenov, Mendenov. Google him. In 1984, he's explaining exactly how the Russian KGB is going to destroy the United States with disinformation and destabilization and demoralization. Watch it, 1984, describing everything that's happening to this very day. He's talking about, they did it 60 years. They've been doing it over 60 years, and it's through the educational system and so on that in our country. And you'll see, it'll be very enlightening, and they're very good at it.
Now, I bet you've gotten a lot of opposition yourself.
No, not now, not anymore. We used to, but not anymore.
Have you met with the popes?
Yes, I met with Pope John. I was knighted by John Paul II. I met with him 4 times. I was knighted again by Pope Benedict. I met with him 19 times. And I was knighted again by Pope Francis, raised in rank with my wife, 4 times. So we've met with popes, and we know them quite well, and the other officials of the Vatican State.
And you are, you've got so many stories to say and projects you have. We really thank you for coming with us today to help share with us and set our mind right, and also understand that our current situation has some elements that's similar.
Exactly. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same. Listen to Yuri Mendenov. You'll be shocked.
And go to pavethewayfoundation.org. Thank you for being with us. I'm Tony Carnes with A Journey to NYC Religion. Goodbye.